We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. You know, I think Thomas Jefferson was lying when he wrote that. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Zaria Smith and I typically make commentary videos just like this one. Today is Candle's Peach and Nectar, and boy do I have a little video for you today. Typically, I don't really make longer videos. I actually don't know how long this is going to end up being. I hope it's not going to be like an hour and a half because Lord, that takes forever to edit. But hi. If you guys, didn't notice, about, I want to say 2 weeks ago, I mentioned that I was researching for a video. That is this video that you're watching right now. And as you can tell from the title, today's video is about the endless cycle of misogyny. I'm honestly glad that I waited the 2 weeks to film this video and to wrap up my research, because I don't know if you've been on the internet lately, but recently the Supreme Court just overturned Roe versus Wade. And it's been pretty interesting seeing how the internet has been reacting about women's rights and all of that junk, It's so funny that I was researching about history of hating women and talking about how women didn't have rights. And then the Supreme Court really said, let's circle back to that, let's revisit that, which is just so funny, but not funny, haha, funny, weird, Roe versus Wade getting overturned is honestly so much more than just a medical procedure that, probably someone that really closely has had done before. It is so much more that is in that little case. So I recommend that you actually read it. That's actually not the topic of today's video, literally at all. And I had no inkling to mention this court case literally at all, but I felt like that at this point it would be weird to not mention it, especially since this video is literally about the endless cycle of misogyny, and that literally is just peak, women don't have rights, But that aside, let's just get on to today's video. So firstly, I just want to talk about what misogyny is. The definition of misogyny actually has changed throughout the years. It used to just be the hatred of women. Now it's kind of leaning towards the dislike or contempt or some sort of bias against women, which I feel like is definitely more accurate, especially with today's world right now. Because, for instance, a person can be friends with women, they can, date women, they can do all these things with women, be adjacent to them, and not have this extreme hate for them. Because if you really hated women, you would seek out gay relationships, you would not interact with women, you would not interact with your mother, your sisters, your cousins, etc. So I think that the dislike and contempt and general bias against women is definitely better. I just wanted to say that sexism and misogyny are different. They sound very similar. And when I was a young gal, I thought that it was pretty much the same thing. I thought, sexism equals misogyny, misogyny equals sexism, which is actually not the case. When I made my Not Like Other Girls phenomenon video, I think a year ago or whatever, I started deep diving into this concept of internalized misogyny that I didn't even realize that I had when I was a young gal. But according to Kate Mann, who actually is the author of Down Girl, which is about the logic of misogyny, which is a good book and I definitely recommend that you read it. I read it in 2018 when it came out. Pretty good book. But pretty much she states that essentially sexism is an ideology. It is a set of beliefs, pretty much holding that it is natural and therefore desirable for men and women to perform these roles and giving roles. So kind of it's the idea that women have to concede to men. Women have to accommodate their lives to men. And that is generally sexism. Whereas misogyny is, functions like a police force. It is telling women it's being misogyny is the action of sexism. Because sexism is the same as racism. Just because you think racism doesn't mean that you're going to actively, call a black person a slur to their face. It's kind of that type of vibe. At least that's how I understand it. I could be wrong. You can comment down below and tell me your thoughts on the whole misogyny thing. And when it comes to my personal journey with internalized misogyny, because woof, I had it really bad. Turns out I just really liked women. And who would have thought? Who would have thought young, 5-year-old me would have been shaking right now. But I think that when I think about misogyny, I think about how being a woman is so hard. For me, I was always that I'm not like other girls type of girl. I'd be like, oh, girls have so much drama, blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't until I had a really close girl best friend who ended up being, I don't want to talk about it because I'm not trying to hate on women. But I had a really close friendship with the girl and we were really close. It was great. And I finally had an appreciation of, oh, not all girls suck, and that's a good revelation to have, because women don't suck. Some of them do, but definitely not all women as a whole. And whether you are extremely, presenting as a woman, you align with feminine ideologies, you like to dress more girly or have that gendered, societal belief of what a woman should look like, and you like dressing like that's perfectly fine. There's no reason to have such this hatred for women who like to dress, like the societal norms, because if that's how you want to express yourself and that's how you want to feel, that's perfectly fine. And I think that misogyny in general is weird because it's like, it can be something so little. The reason why I actually wanted to make this video was almost kind of like I watched the movie Men, which has had some really interesting reviews. My review is I wish I didn't see the last 30 minutes of the movie. That kind of traumatized me and made me not want to give birth even more. By the way, if you haven't seen the movie, that's not a spoiler, but Lord, just please prepare yourself for what you're gonna see. But the movie Men, at least from my perspective, was that there's this constant cycle of toxic masculinity that never gets unchecked. If you see in the movie, she's walking around and every single man she interacts with, even a child, has the exact same face. Now, people have different interpretations of this, and my interpretation is just that, it's cyclical. Like, it's different generations. People have this idea of like, oh, well, for instance, this isn't a spoiler, is it? Pause for spoilers. But her husband ends up ending his own life because she won't talk to him. And a pastor who's the same man, like we already discussed, says that it's essentially her fault, when no, he's a grown man and he made the decision to do that. That's nothing to do with her. It's kind of weird that it's like, oh, well, you should have done more for your husband. You should have conceded to him. You should have done X, Y, Z. And even the younger boy was upset with her for not playing tag with her, when it's like, women are not entitled to your attention, your time. Women don't have to do anything for you. And it is this idea of just extreme misogyny that women have to do things for you. We have to constantly feel as though we need to apologize. And, it sucks being a woman, constantly having to fear how a man is going to react to you rejecting them. As we know, men don't like rejection historically, and they believe that because of this deeply ingrained societal view, men expect women to do so much for them, and whenever women don't do that for them, they can in some cases get really violent, which is one of the harsh realities that women have to face every single day. But that is generally misogyny. Just as an umbrella, we're going to go a little bit deeper and get into the history. Women were able to gain the right to vote in the United States on August 18th, 1920. And that is very jarring, because it's like, when you think about the fact that at this time, racism was rampant. People hated black men, but even black men were able to vote. But depending upon your religious beliefs, I'm just going to say that whether you believe in Greek mythology, Roman mythology, you're a Christian, you're Buddhist, you're Hindu, there's so many religions. I don't want to exclude anybody. In Greek and Roman mythology, a lot of goddesses were seen as, goddesses. They were really powerful. They were on even playing fields. We see in ancient Egypt, a lot of popular female rulers were female rulers in ancient Egypt, And we look at the Christian faith, which, boy, has a lot of stipulations these days. But when God created Adam, he created Eve from his rib. So, from the jump, people were saying that women are from men, or therefore women are less than men. And, we tend to ignore the fact that, Lilith exists. Some people don't acknowledge her. Some people are like, this is all made up and it's in fairyland or whatever. But Lilith was made from the same thing that Adam was made of. Didn't work out. They broke up. Not broke up, but it was a whole thing that happened between Lilith and Adam. Even though there were a lot of cultures that respected women and a lot of cultures that hated women, I think that whenever I think about stuff like that, I like to go to my homie Aristotle. Well, not my homie, but Aristotle, Plato, Socrates, those guys. I'm a philosophy nerd. I actually wanted to be a philosophy major when I am in college right now. I didn't do that though, but I did take a lot of philosophy classes. That's not the point of this video. Either way, Aristotle himself said women are not equal to men. He straight up said that. He said that women are incomplete, deformed men, which I don't even know if that's better or worse. I really don't know, but that's still really, really bad take from Aristotle. Plato in many dialogues created women as inferior characters to men. So a lot of famous philosophers actually hated women low-key. Regardless of how religion, history has kind of seen both sides. They've seen hating women, loving women, etc., etc. And in Western society, which again is where I currently live, maybe not for long, we'll see where that goes, but women were meant to simply stay at home, watch the children, make clothes before fast fashion existed, clean, cook, be a homemaker, while the man went out and worked and then came home to a home-cooked meal, abused his kids, and then went to sleep. Well, abused his kids and then his wife and then went to sleep. And that was the perfect little nuclear family. It still blows my mind that a single man could have a normal job in the US and somehow be able to afford a middle-class home with a wife and 2.5 children. Despite during the specific war times, again, in the US, where women had to kind of step up to the workforce, the second the men came back, they were like, yo, go back to the house, get it together. Where's my sandwich? Classic misogynist joke there. There was pretty much no expectation for women to work because women were seen as not equal. Women were seen as frail, weak. You wouldn't expect to see a woman in a construction job or working on the railroad, It was just something that was just seen as weird. There were women that were in the Tupperware MLM that was OG MLM, but we didn't really see a lot of women that were working, aside from, really, really, really poor people who really had no choice but to have everybody working, including their children. We honestly have come a long way in terms of the history of women because, at first women couldn't even, do anything without their husband's, approval. Well, actually, no, there are still some things that women have to ask their husbands for, their husband has to sign off on it, which I think is kind of gross. But other than that, women have come such a long way. And I think that that's something that should be acknowledged because while historically misogyny has been really popular, hating women has been very popular, since then in modern times women have become vice president, speaker of the house. There are women who are billionaires and bosses, and women who work in the construction industry and work on cars. And it's honestly nice to see that there are women who are kind of going outside of that general norm. It still can be looked down on at times, but I do know that, for instance, Sydney Sweeney works on cars, and people have been praising her for that. But I don't know if it's just because she's hot or what. But, it's good for the progress. It's good for the movement. But does this mean, in modern society, does this mean that misogyny is over? Because I talked about how this is called the cycle of misogyny. So what changed? Because we have so many women that are now in prominent roles. So why is it that misogyny is still rampant and large? Girlboss, the term was coined in 2014 by, what's this girl's name? Sophia Amoruso, who's the founder of Nasty Gal, which is a horrible company, but that's a whole other thing that I'll just get into later. But this isn't solely about girl bosses. This is about this kind of girl boss era women empowerment, like those advertisements, all the stuff you would see on Tumblr and whatever between 2014 and about 2018. I feel like it's really interesting to look at. Now, the Nasty Gal girl, she actually wrote a book about being a girl boss, which was really weird, but this isn't just about, MLMs and all that stuff and like Elizabeth Holmes, because just because a woman is a boss doesn't mean she's a good one, and that's not even a misogyny thing. It's like anybody under capitalism just generally sucks who's exploiting workers. You can do that at any gender, but I initially think about the Act Like a Girl campaign that always did.
Show me what it looks like to run like a girl.
My hair. Oh my God.
Show me what it looks like to fight like a girl. Now throw like a girl.
Aww. Now, Always is a brand who makes period products, and there's actually currently a tampon shortage, come to think of it. But they made an ad. I'll add in a clip. It's really stupid, and I'm sure you definitely wrote a paper on it in your 11th grade AP lit class or Lang class. But this ad was really weird because it's like, yeah, we say act like a girl, but acting like a girl is just you're a girl doing something.
My name is Dakota and I'm 10 years old.
Show me what it looks like to run like a girl. Throw like a girl. Fight like a girl. What does it mean to you when I say run like a girl?
It means run fast as you can.
But the ad just felt so weird and forced and just wrong on so many levels. And it had such good intentions, which is kind of the worst part, is that like these mostly male groups, which again, if you wanted true progress, you would just have women in your, board and your workforce. But, that aside, the intentions were pure, but it just came off as very much embarrassing, which is how a lot of these girl boss ads kind of went, in the past couple years. Capitalism really came in hot when we were looking at women entering the workforce more prominently. I love being empowered as much as the next girl. However, I think that if I were to support a company that is so somehow for, women's rights and all of that stuff and, empowering women, maybe they should donate to women who are suffering right now, I would rather see a company, instead of just, slapping pink on a razor and calling it a girl's razor made for women and then charging an extra $3 because, oh yeah, pink tax exists. I think it's better to just be like, hey, we're donating X amount of proceeds to X amount of funds. Women experience a lot of domestic violence, and I think it would be good to do something like that. Maybe perhaps do scholarships for women or something to do the betterment of society that doesn't involve you just making money off of some tampons. It just feels yucky to me. It feels weird. However, girl power ads and girl boss ads, or whatever you want to call it, did have some sort of betterment in society. It put the idea into people's heads that like, hey, women can be people. They can work. They can do things, which is always nice. But it gave nothing for the cause, for the general consensus of making a systematic effort to make sure women are treated equally, which we're not even paid equally. So, that's great. Also, say hi to Bronx. This movement and this type of energy from 2014 to 2018 was really interesting when it comes to misogyny. So I want you to really quickly imagine your typical girl boss. Just close your eyes right now and imagine. I'm thinking about what a girl boss is right now. And I can almost guarantee you, unless you're thinking about like Michelle Obama, is a white woman with blonde hair, blue eyes, and conventionally attractive. Because that's what the girl boss image gave, not really ethnicity, which again, we'll put a pin in that, talk about it later. But this image was sold to us. The image that was sold to us was, if you are white, conventionally attractive, you too can, benefit from capitalism, Also, this image was like women who were already wealthy just from their parents' wealth, like Paris Hilton, such a girl boss. She is still the heiress of the Hilton fortune. That's something to think about. You know, she does have her own vibe. She has her own stuff. She's a DJ now. She does a lot. But still, she had the advantage of having wealthy parents, you know, which is just a billionaire and millionaire issue in general. But we're not talking about classism today. I'm going to try my best not to. And just because you want capitalism and you happen to be a woman, it does not mean that I'm going to support you any more than any other business, because you're just a woman who benefits off of people's labor. That's cool, I guess. Congrats. But I'm not going to be like, hey, let's support this woman for just being a woman. You know, you're not breaking the glass ceiling for, you know, women behind you. At least that's what I feel like. And I think that the idea of misogyny also has so many layers when it comes to intersectionality too, which doesn't get talked about a lot. I also read an article by Lucy Carter, and she says, when talking about the girl boss idea, is that it seeks not to change patriarchal systems, but rather to work within them to find personal success. There is a hugely individualist focus, which is inevitable due to capitalist basis of its aims. And although the suggestion is that more women making their way to the top will inspire and motivate others to follow their footsteps, the very structures of oppression are not addressed, which is literally true. I'm not saying that by being a girl boss, you are in yourself misogynist, because that just feels, you know, weird. But I will say that a lot of girl bosses will be like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and work harder, you know? And that just feels kind of like yucky, because it's like, cool, you probably had advantages, or you built yourself up from the ground, you know, that's also cool. But I think that when it comes to misogyny, a lot of depictions of girl bosses are also really horrible. I mean, Devil Wears Prada, but I mean also just in general, like, people who have female CEOs always discuss how horrible it is. And I think that also in terms of misogyny, while it is great to have a girl boss, boss who is a woman, I need to stop saying girl boss. I've said that so many times. It's also just like, whenever that woman does something, it is treated so much worse than if a man did it. Like, could you imagine if the CEO of Tesla was like a woman? God, it would be so bad. And she would get so much scrutiny for like the Teslas blowing up and like all that stuff happening. So I think that the girl boss movement and act like a girl and all that stuff did do a purpose. It did do something, and it gave a lot of women at least the idea, like, hey, maybe I could try to do something with my life. You know, I mean, when I was younger, I wanted to be a pediatric neurosurgeon. Didn't do that when I found out how much school I had to go to do it. But, you know, I grew up never thinking that I couldn't do something, which is something that a lot of girls are not shown. So this is good, but also it sucks because it doesn't address the deep roots of misogyny. It just places a little bow on it, which I think is kind of messed up. If you watch commentary videos, I have no doubt in my mind that you have seen one of these videos, or you have been on TikTok and you've seen a clip of some random man talking about how men can sleep around but women can't because it's cheating, you know, or if a woman kisses a woman, it's not cheating, but she kisses a man, it is cheating, or having an Instagram is cheating, or some stupid little incel little comment. I don't doubt you've seen at least one of those in your lifetime at this point if you're online, especially if this video came up. I'm 1000% sure that you've heard of this at least a little bit. But we've seen videos of a person making fun of misogynistic men, analyzing misogynistic men. You could have just seen content of men dehumanizing women just for being women, because, you know, that's always fun and misogynistic. And what's interesting is that this content also makes them money. Like, men have their whole livelihoods based off of dehumanizing women. And, like, imagine if, like, today in modern times, a white person were popular right now for making racist comment. Actually, no, that's literally Donald Trump. Never mind. But they have millions of fans who believe everything that they say, and they follow them blindly, which is very dangerous. And it's more scary in terms of misogyny. It's a lot worse with this content as opposed to a random girl boss talking about how she did yoga and now suddenly her third eye is open and she drinks green smoothies now. Like, it's very different. I think that this content is definitely a lot more dangerous, and it has been on a rise recently, and I feel like it happens just generally every 10 years. is something. Women get a little inkling and then it just gets diminished. This could be an entire video within itself. This whole section could be a video in itself, and there are videos. So many videos by a lot of men about these men, which is really interesting. I like seeing videos where, you know, normal men call out misogynistic men, because it kind of, they'll listen to men, not really women, which is why I'm not going to say anything about these men. I'm not going to analyze anything for you, because I'm sure you've seen it, and I'm not going to try to trigger you by any sort of random comment that these men are making. I also know that I could spend 20 minutes talking about this specific topic, but again, the people who's the problem of the people who are causing this problem are not going to watch it. And I've probably most likely already commented some sort of comment about how I should go back in the kitchen, or I don't know, some stupid comment. They probably already typed it after watching the video for 2 seconds, you know, so I'm not going to be concerned, because I'm sure every person has common sense to know that if you have seen any of these videos, you know how bad it is. And if you want, I have a video on the Fresh and Fit episode they did with Brittany Renner on the Off the Something podcast. It was like 11 months ago that I made this video. It is my belief that these men can be reached out to, they can be talked to and reasoned with. A lot of incels view women so lowly, or there are a lot of men who are conventionally attractive and just treat women as disposable, sleep with and engage in hookup culture very rampantly. A lot of incels believe that, like, you're predisposed to be unattractive and you should hate women, you know, and be spiteful because for some reason you can't attract women. My rebuttal to this is that there are so many men who get zero women and don't act like that. If you are a man at home and you're wondering why women won't be with you, maybe try working on your self-esteem and your confidence and go about relationships differently, and don't expect women to do things for you just because you somehow feel like they owe it to you. Just be nice and see what happens. You might be surprised with the results. That's an advice from me. Because the amount of those little manosphere videos where they're talking about, here's advice on how to get a woman because women lie about what they want. That is stupid. But I don't know. It's just easier to kind of work on yourself as opposed to just going onto some random Discord and talking about how women are easy and women are stupid, but you still can't sleep with one. Must not be that easy, you know? But that aside, this content is so awful, and you should not seek it out. Because there's this funny little thing that a lot of algorithms do, specifically TikTok and YouTube, where if you like one content or you watch content a little bit too long, suddenly that is all your recommended pages. But my issue with this content is that it spreads this toxic ideology to young men specifically, and also young women who end up being, I hate the word, but pick-me's, who believe that women are less than, and believe in this whole alpha male, beta male garbage, when it's like, that's so stupid. Like, we're animals, but we're not like that. And this is where the cycle of misogyny kind of has a cycle, because there's this movement of women who are free thinkers who are like, hey, look, this is this thing, you know, and suddenly one man's like, you know, women, they shouldn't have rights. You know, let's go back to the good days. Let's go back to when America was great and women had to stay home all day, you know? And this is kind of where that cycle begins, because it's like, we are conscious, or me, I don't know how old you are watching this, but we're conscious adults. We're conscious consumers online, and we are under the understanding of, hey, women probably don't suck. But younger generations, similarly with kids' content, if they come across this, they're going to be seeing that for their formative years of growing up. And these young, you know, 10, 12-year-olds right now are then going to be in the future these misogynistic men, and then the cycle's just going to keep on continuing. So the only way that I feel like for this content to stop spreading is that we really shouldn't watch it anymore. Try your best to not engage with that type of content just in general. And it should help situation, but there really isn't much to do to kind of end the whole misogyny thing. And I don't recommend just going online and bullying men who already have ideas and they're not going to be changed really easily just because you make a 5-minute TikTok video talking about it. You know, I think a lot of these things are so deeply ingrained in somebody that they need to just have their whole soul just like ripped and restarted, you know? That a lot of these people don't respect women's opinions anyways. So if you're a man and you have male friends that are like this, talk to them. Be like, yo, buddy, That's weird. Don't be like that, you know? I've been talking to you guys about the rise of misogynistic content, you know, girl boss stuff, misogyny in general, and kind of how it comes full circle. But I think that some of the harshest misogyny that we see is from other women, which is really sad. You think that, you know, whenever marginalized groups wouldn't, you know, dehumanize and belittle other marginalized groups, but at this point, I'm sure many of you guys know that I constantly have said that I'm a feminist. I believe in equality. I believe in true equality. I think that whether your gender identity, your race, your class, whatever, you should have equal rights. You should have equal basic human rights that the United States is currently, you know, violating according to the UN. But, you know, that aside, that's how I feel. I've always felt that way. I've never felt like a person should be treated less than for something that they can't control. Regardless, feminism has done great things for equality. Feminism is the reason why women are able to vote. Feminism has just done so much for women. It's helped a lot of places, states, you know, make the wage gap better. It's done so much, you know, so I don't want to just say feminism sucks. However, this is where I kind of get into the whole issue that I have with a lot of modern feminism, which makes me sound like such a pick-me. I promise I'm going to get into it. I'm not going to sound like one of these preaching like little people, you know, but one of the biggest issues with feminism, and the reason why I feel like misogyny will never die until we fix this issue, is because a lot of women who identify as feminists are actually not feminists, and they are exclusionary. A lot of exclusion happening in feminism, which kind of literally defeats the whole purpose of feminism. But, you know, that aside, I just wanted to really quickly show you this TikTok. I haven't done a lot of TikToks recently, but here's a TikTok.
Okay, so then can a man become a woman?
Negative.
Absolutely not.
Ew, no.
No, never.
No.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No.
Nope. No chance.
Absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not.
This is what I'm going to get into. So essentially, these women and prominent women in society and media and blah, 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 like Marjorie Taylor Greene or J.K. Rowling, whatever, have this issue where they're like, yeah, women are great, except for trans women. Which is just really weird to me, because if you looked at the statistics, trans women have it so hard. And you're making it harder, bud. J.K. Rowling and, weirdly enough, Dave Chappelle both identify as TERFs. Now, TERF stands for a trans exclusionary radical feminist. TERF meaning that they essentially believe that trans women are not women, therefore they should not be protected under feminism, and they are regarded to as men. And because patriarchy and blah, 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 a man can never be a woman. Therefore, trans women are not included into feminism, which is, again, really stupid, because the dictionary definition of feminism includes all genders. Isn't that bananas? You're not a feminist if you don't believe that trans women deserve rights. That's literally stupid. I feel like I don't even need to like tell you why that's stupid, because I feel like it's common sense. But the main argument is that trans women will never experience what it's like to be a cisgendered woman. By trans women existing, it's essentially ruining the experience of cisgendered women in society. You know, and you know what the funny thing is that when you think about how women are treated in society, it must mean a lot if a person is actively trying to be a woman or trying to present more as female. It says a lot, because women are treated horribly. So that's something to also consider. However, I just want to note, this is something that is interesting. So trans women are brutalized so horribly by mostly men, because again, it's men's issue here, because of their gender identity. The average life expectancy of a Black trans woman right now is 35 years old. And it's not because of some random homophobic thing you're about to say, like AIDS or HIV or something stupid. It's literally because they're getting, by trying to see men, and men deciding to hate crime them when they either find out that they're trans or they get embarrassed that they're trans. There's a lot of reasons why, and I will never I will never experience that. Women are also treated horribly. Trans women are women, but in general, women are treated horribly. And a lot of cisgendered women have experienced situations to where they haven't wanted to do something, but they're being forced to. There are women who have been for rejecting men. Women are constantly in fear every single day. I feel like we've all at one point walked to our cars with our keys in our knuckles, just to make sure we could get somebody really quick if they tried to mess with us. But in reality, we know the keys wouldn't really do much of anything. Also, I just want to say, in general, if a person is a transgender woman, and let's say they never transition, they identify as transgender woman, but they dress like a male, they use male pronouns because they're hiding themselves. Do you think that if they were doing that right now, that they would experience as many hate crimes, as many issues as they do as a man versus actually expressing themselves? And trans women deserve to have rights and deserve to have equal rights. So you're not a feminist, Next, I just wanted to talk about intersectionality and how that kind of plays into the whole feminism thing, because a really popular form of feminism is white feminism, and I know it's not on purpose. I just think that a lot of white women are so not conscious. The original feminists were racist. So racist. Susan B. Anthony, God, we should beat her. No, she's literally dead. But this mostly white feminism fails to understand how marginalized groups get affected by the same issues that women face on a day-to-day basis, So with the whole Roe versus Wade thing that's been happening right now, and I'm sure you've seen, there is this TikTok trend where it was like, actually, I'll put it in a clip. I'll try to find one of the compilations and I'll just put it in a clip. Concept of, you thought the other protests were bad? And you want to know what a lot of the women who protested did, which is fine. You're exercising your constitutional right to protest. They didn't cause any riots, which again, I'm not for rioting. I mean, kind of, but like, don't riot. It causes harm to you as a person, and less for the cause at hand most of the time. But there were no crazy riots. There were no nothing. It was just women chanting, wearing the Handmaid's Tale outfits or whatever. I haven't watched that show, so I really don't know what all that's about. In general, they didn't create such a fuss as what they wanted to, because in reality, a lot of women who are white and feminists, don't really understand how deeply issues affect them. Like, for instance, the Roe v. Wade getting overturned affects Black women a lot more than it affects white women. When it comes to protesting, the government actually wants you to riot. They want you to act out because that's how they can arrest you, because they know that it's your constitutional right to be able to protest. But once you start rioting, that's when they can shoot you. That's when they can, tear gas you and all that stuff. So they want you to do that. So it's better to just simply not. And I'm sure you've seen pictures of random bricks being placed all around Washington, D.C., which is just really, really, really convenient. This is in a way what some people will call slacktivism or performative activism, because yes, you posting your little Instagram things, I do that, it can be helpful. Especially since it can be helpful because some people use those websites and resources and find ways to help themselves or help other people, which is great. But I feel like that posting a little square on your story really doesn't do much for other people. It just makes it look like, yeah, I support rights, but then you don't donate, you don't do anything. You just kind of post your little post, which does help. It spreads awareness, but it's not really true activism, which if you're claiming that, oh, I'm going to go crazy over this ruling, where's this crazy? Do something. Use your money. Figure something out, I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure to give it a big thumbs up because it helps little channels like mine. Make sure to subscribe to me, pretty please. I would love that so much. I'm so close to hitting 7,000 subscribers and that number doesn't feel real to me. Make sure to do that. Leave your comment down below. My general thought process is that with everything that I've mentioned today, it's what's feeding into the cycle of misogyny. We can try really hard. We can have those girl boss campaigns where we can push for women to be in positions of power, but in the grand scheme of things, there's going to be a constant cycle because there's always going to be something that kind of stands in the way, whether that's Republicans, I don't know, or misogynistic women who don't understand how what they're doing affects them. It's so much that goes into it, and that's why it's an endless cycle, and I hope one day we can break it. The future generations, I hope that they see what's happening right now and they're like, hey, let's not do that again. But who's to say? I guess that's it. So comment down below, like I said, and make sure to stay happy, stay healthy, and stay safe, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye guys.